This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website.
Ooh.
For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase, go to squarespace.com and use offer code CFN.
Comedy film nerds. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 208. My name is Graham Elwood.
I'm Chris Mancini, and this is a very special episode.
It is.
We are filming this.
What?
For video.
Is that who these guys are?
Yeah, that's the crew. Yeah.
Yes.
What's weird is not only are they filming it, they work for us, which is also weird.
So they have,
yeah, not only do we have a crew, we own them, which is really weird.
At the end of the shoot, we are going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
It's one of these lucky kids is going to get murdered, and it's
good luck.
Yeah. Going to do a little Hunger Games.
I don't know. Yeah. I think we should make them kill each other. Yeah.
Yeah, like in Dark Knight Returns, where the Joker breaks the pool cue and makes the guys fight each other.
Yeah. Who wants the job?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
All right. Somebody want maybe we have a new DP on this film.
Ooh, yeah.
Because the last one was
who wants
murdered.
the job or who wants to keep interning? Let's see.
Guys, want your checks to bounce? Maybe you murder a guy. So yeah, we're very excited. This is Earbuds, the podcasting doc. They're shooting us. This is good business. But all of you listening at home, you cannot see these cameras. You will see this footage, I'm sure.
At least 4 seconds of it.
At least when the movie comes out.
Yes.
Unless we decide to cut out our own stuff, which we might do.
We'll see.
We might do. If this is a really shitty segment, we're gonna.
Yeah. It's gonna end up on the cutting room floor, and we'll have no one to blame but ourselves.
So, first of all, I want to thank everybody that came out to the Improv. I headlined their March this past weekend on the 22nd. It was great. Fun show. Thanks again to the comics that were on the show. Joe Sibb, Lachlan Patterson, Lang Parker, and Jeff Tate.
That's a good show.
Yes, it is. And then this Sunday, of course, we will be at Flappers in Burbank. March
that'll
30th.
be fun.
Yeah, good times. You're on the show. Andy Wood. From Probably Science, as I'm saying, and of course Morgan Murphy, who writes for
Two Broke Girls.
Two Broke Girls, right on. So let's
introduce our guest.
Why don't we introduce our guest?
I should tell you that Flappers was not the original name of that comedy club.
What was it going to be?
Meat Curtains. But there's one in Encino,
and it was trademarked.
Yes, yeah. Meat Curtains.
Make sure we got that. Put that right in your.
Oh, talk closer.
Okay, thank you. So you've heard his dulcet tones, ladies and gentlemen, the very funny and talented Mr. David Feldman.
Comedian, writer, podcaster.
Right.
Can I tell you about my Kickstarter campaign?
Yeah.
I'm doing a documentary about all the guys who are doing documentaries about podcasts.
Is it called Meat Curtain?
It's called Meat Curtain, and you go behind the meat curtain into the uvula of filmmaking. It's just following young upstart documentarians making a documentary about podcasting, because there are millions of documentaries about podcasts.
They're all who cares?
Yeah.
they're pretty boring.
Do I have any chance of ending up in the documentary? I always end up on the cutting room floor of documentaries.
What do you think the common denominator is?
Who do you think that's up to? Graham and I? Or David Feldman?
Reading the script that you give me properly. And this time around, I'm not going to make any mistakes. You want cinema verite? I'll give you cinema verite right here. David says he's depressed and having marital problems. Okay, I can work off this.
That's what we put on our list.
So Squarespace.
Oh, wow, we're going right into a plug.
Yeah, we're going right into a plug.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We're not going to talk about David's gold cell phone?
When he sees me, he immediately thinks of a square and
the space.
And a space.
Yeah, we're getting more emails for a lot of Squarespace websites because we have a lot of very creative people who listen to the show. We have people in the film business and TV, and also
graphic designers,
comic book people, and Somebody emailed and I
Can I
checked out
mention
their
my
site.
Kickstarter campaign?
Sure.
I'm trying to raise money to make this
In the middle of an ad? Absolutely.
this
Go
thing
ahead.
where it would be really easy to make a website. So I have an idea. This is what's missing on the web. I want to have a website, but it's hard to design one. If only
It is.
If only there were like a drag and drop kind of way to design a website. So my Kickstarter campaign is to raise money to help me design this business where people would pay me, and then I
What's
would
your funding goal?
couple $1 billion. Right. And then we put this out on the web, and then you could design your own website. You wouldn't have to hire anybody.
That's exactly what Squarespace
Oh, my
did. That's
God.
amazing.
They stole my idea?
Yeah,
That's
they,
so
they
weird.
absolutely
Yeah.
stole your idea.
And one
What is Squarespace?
they
I want to announce a Kickstarter campaign to sue Squarespace for stealing an idea that I have.
David works in public
Feldman,
radio,
yeah.
so he's
The
not
Legal Defense
used to paid sponsor ad reads. He's used to just
Wait a second. Are you telling me that there's already a software program on the web that will design a...
yeah.
Really?
Squarespace.com and 10% off.
it! God damn it! Go ahead.
Code CFN for 10% off. But we want to talk about one Squarespace site that got submitted to us that I checked out. It's horror movie fans. They set up a site called 100 Lunatics. And
That's a great site.
yeah, and they basically go and analyze over horror movies like Freddy and Jason and Freddy versus Jason and all that stuff. That you could go to the site, you could read the blog and listen to the podcast, and it is a Squarespace site, and you could see how easy it is to put together. It's like, it's got like a great banner, and you've got the Twitter feed, everything you need to create an easy website that's still visually dynamic. It's squarespace.com.
Like you could do meatcurtains.com.
You could do meatcurtains.com. You could. So 100lunatics.com.
And how much does Squarespace charge for this?
Well, it
very
depends on the
affordable.
plan you want, but it's very affordable.
But you know what? You can save 10% if you use coupon code CFN.
Why,
Wait a second.
Why wouldn't you?
You said it's affordable?
Yes.
Oh, my idea was completely different.
Yeah.
You were going to charge $1,500.
Yeah. An hour to host the website.
David,
All right, I feel better. My idea. They didn't take my idea.
well, good luck with that $1 billion on Kickstarter. good luck with that.
Yep. You're going to have to buy some Facebook ads.
Yeah, good luck. All right. Is there any other announcement? Anything? Oh, here's a big announcement.
We're shooting a documentary.
What?
Yeah.
What a horrible idea. As for earbuds, this Sunday, March 30th, if you are going to be in the Los Angeles area, we're going to be doing fan interviews at the Hollywood Improv, which is 8162 Melrose Avenue, between 1 and 5 on Sunday, March 30th. Come down. We'll interview you 5-10 minutes. If you're in the area, come and just tell us why you love podcasting and all that stuff. And then we're doing it again for the following Sunday, April 6th at the Nerd Melt Theater.
Yes.
And that's again from 1 to 5 p.m.
Yep. And so come on down and just don't ruin it.
Yeah, don't Feldman it.
Yeah.
Don't pull a Feldman.
Don't pull a Feldman. Come down and actually act like a goddamn reasonable human being. So
good luck, everybody.
good luck, assholes. That's how we get fans to be in our documentary. We berate them. So, all right, check that out. Well, let's
talk about these movies that came out.
Let's do it.
I want to talk about the Muppets Most Wanted.
Okay.
And now, did you see the first one?
Yes, I did. I did see the first one.
It was really a lot of fun, and I thought they really captured the spirit of the Muppets, and I really loved the first one. Now, Jason Segel was not involved in the sequel, but here's the thing. It was still really fun. It was still a really good movie. It still captured the spirit and like the tone and the humor of the Muppets. It wasn't quite as good, no, but the thing I love about it is they made that very self-aware. The first musical number that they did right when the movie began was about them doing a sequel and how generally they're not quite as good as the first one.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was cool, and the music was fun. The acting was really good. There's a ton of like cameos. Ray Liotta's hilarious. And
does he play like a thuggy?
He plays like a prisoner in a Russian gulag, and then they have to put on like a musical number, then a show.
Does he sing and dance?
Yeah, it's really
because I was just going to say, I don't think I could. Does Ray Liotta ever play? He's never played the like, hey, it's Uncle Ray. Like he coaches the kids soccer team.
Him and Danny Trejo. Yeah, they're in this Russian gulag trying to put on a song and dance number for Tina Fey, who controls the gulag. So
makes perfect sense.
So it's really fun. It's a heist movie, and Ricky Gervais does a really nice job. But the music's really good too. It's one of the guys that from Flight of the Conchords did all the music.
Oh, right.
So I think Jermaine Clement, I believe, his name, who's also in it. And it's a really fun movie. It's one of those good family movies where, is it as great as the first one? No. But it's really fun. I mean, I liked it. My wife liked it. The kids liked it. It's one of those kids' movies or family movies that you can all go and enjoy and not want to pull your hair out.
Your kids loved it.
Yeah. And but the thing I like too is they hired actual comedians to do the songs and to actually be funny and actually not say this isn't a kids movie. No, it's a Muppets movie. You could be funny and still be family friendly.
Well, that's the thing. That's why the Muppets work so well as the TV show that we all grew up watching was. It was for kids, but it wasn't. It never condescended.
Right,
to the
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I never felt like I was being talked down to, like some of those other children, like New Zoo Review.
Yeah, I remember
dumbest,
that.
most insulting, stupid TV show that's ever been made, and Muppets never did that.
No, and it's good. There's a lot of like if you grew up with the Muppets, like in the '70s, there's a lot of like references and to the old Muppets and the old shows and. Like there's just and there's the ton of celebrity cameos which are always really fun. Everyone from Tony Bennett, Lady Gaga to
Kermit.
Kermit's in it. Yeah, Kermit's
he
in
makes
it.
two appearances. I think.
And the fact that they do that his double is this like basically a supervillain that all he has is the ball on his face and he just loves blowing stuff up. So. One of the scenes, like you never really see them fight, like it's almost like a Yoda fight, like from one of the Star Wars prequels. To see Kermit's double beat up a bunch of Russian guards is pretty funny.
I saw this first Muppet film that came out a couple years ago. I want to ask you, how would you compare these two newer ones to the one that came out in the 70s, the first Muppet movie?
Well, the first Muppet movie was really fun because it was like the first time they were on screen.
Right.
Was that all Muppets Take Manhattan?
No,
that was
the first one was just the Muppets movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was just the Muppet movie. Yeah.
Right.
And it really felt like the first movie, like the Muppets that just came out like a year or two ago, felt like that first Muppets movie where it was like this is kind of like a reintroduction, and this is where we're going to put a bunch of celebrities on in each scene, and it's also we're just going to kind of keep the charm and fun of the Muppets and just make like a road trip movie, which is what they did. Now the sequel, it's still good, it still has that charm, but you lose that kind of like, hey, they're back, that kind of nostalgia, like we haven't seen you guys on screen in a while. Like you kind of lose that a little bit because it's a sequel. We just saw them like a year or two ago. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's still fun. It's still a good movie, and it's definitely worth a view. And I thought they did a really good job with it. It was funny, fun. It was a little too long, but it was still good. I mean, Ty Burrell did a fantastic job too, as like an Interpol agent who always wants to go on vacation because he's European. So it's good. Recommended for you and your family.
You hope they keep making them.
I do hope they keep making them, but it's a Disney thing, so I hope they don't ruin them either. We're like, well, we need one every year. No, you don't. No, you don't. Now let's take a break and come up with something great for the next one, and then do another.
That's what happened with the original one. The Muppet movie came out in 1979, and then they started making. There was a Muppet Take Manhattan and
the Muppet Caper.
All that. Yeah. That's when it was like, no, man, just keep them special. Keep the Muppets a special thing.
So so let's take a break now and then do another one or do something different with them now. So let's see what Disney does next with them.
Henson's son passed away, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
That's too bad. I'm serious.
Well, Henson was great. I mean, and these films.
He was young.
Yeah.
Yeah. He died. It was like pneumonia or something. Oof. But what I didn't realize too is that the Muppets basically split up. Like what happens is the Muppets that were like on the Muppet Show, they went to Disney, and the Muppets that are on Sesame Street, they're owned by Children's Television Workshop. So they all kind of had like different owners. And then like the Muppets still retain all the other characters and things that they created, like Jim Henson's Creature Shop, like that are not at Disney or at Children's Television Workshop.
All right.
One of the great things about living in Hollywood is driving up La Brea, and you get to see Charlie Chaplin's studio, the Tudor design, and on top of it, I believe it's Kermit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Charlie Chaplin hat.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's. Oh, I know. I remember. I had like. I shot some
President Kennedy?
I shot him right there. Yeah, right, I was there.
What does that have to do with it?
I was.
Oh, Henson was pulling the strings.
Yeah. I was on the grassy knoll. You didn't know this?
Yeah. I remember now.
But like, I shot like when I first moved here, I shot a pilot or something in that studio, and it was one of those things that I was like, "This is old Hollywood." That is also new, but they kept the history up. Like that right there, Kermit with the Charlie Chaplin hat is one of those things that I love it when they keep the cool tradition of Hollywood. Like I love all that stuff, and that studio when they keep the charm of them, and you can sort of. It sounds weird, but it's you sort of almost feel the vibe of like
You walk around because they have people there who are historians at that studio. So like I was working there, and after I was done blowing the guy, I looked up and I said, "Are these pylons the same ones that Chaplin saw?" And the guy said, "Here's your $50." No, I mean, you're looking at actual material that Chaplin. The other thing is they showed me the writers' row. Chaplin had writers. There were rooms filled, with writers. So there's a lot of things about Chaplin that people don't know.
Like
he could talk. A lot of people don't know that.
And he wasn't in black and white?
He was not in black and white.
Oh, bullshit. I don't want to listen to your goddamn revisionist nonsense.
And he also stole a lot of bits from vaudeville, but that's
right.
A bit of a thief. Sticky fingers.
Ooh, look at that guy. Good to know.
But I love Chaplin.
Yeah. And, all right, well, let's move on to the next. I saw
Grand Budapest Hotel.
I saw the Grand Budapest Hotel, and it is the new Wes Anderson film. And it is everything that I love about Wes Anderson. It is, I don't know how wide this film is going. I don't think it's going that wide, which is disappointing, but I don't know. I hope it does go wide. But it's just classic Wes Anderson. It's almost a cartoon. It's almost a cartoon fairy tale to a certain extent, but he uses just enough of that to really. That doesn't get in the way of the storytelling, and quirky characters like F. Murray Abraham and the story and how they tell the story.
Is it more of a comedy than a dramedy that like he usually does?
It's definitely more of a comedy.
Okay.
And the heavy moments in it, and there are a couple, like. Because it kind of takes place in Europe at the end of the 30s when a little backdrop is the Nazis taking over. And so the way they deal with that is in somewhat of a comedic way. But then there's moments that are like out of nowhere. You're like, oh, wow, this is really heavy and intense. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like that personally, that he as a director was making that choice. I don't know. It was just... and he said it's inspired by the works of Stephen Zweig. So it just let me put it this way: if you love Wes Anderson, you're going to love this movie.
Okay.
If you're new to Wes Anderson and you've never seen much of his work,
all right, I'm hit or miss on Wes Anderson. Do you think I'll like this one?
Tell me the Wes Anderson movies you really liked.
I really liked Darjeeling Limited.
Mm-hmm.
Royal Tenenbaums.
No, that's it. Darjeeling Limited.
You didn't like Royal Tenenbaums?
No.
You didn't like Rushmore?
No, but I did like...
Okay, you're dumb.
No, I liked Bottle Rocket, and I liked, actually, Fantastic Mr. Fox, too. So I like those three.
He made Fantastic Mr. Fox with George Clooney?
Uh-huh.
That's an amazing...
I know.
That was one of the best movies of 2010. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I think, if you like Fantastic Mr. Fox and you like Darjeeling, I think you'll like this.
Okay, cool.
I think you'll like. I mean, I love just about everything. The only one I wasn't a huge fan of was Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Got it.
But I think you'll like this because he's getting the most out of these actors. He's showing, and they're very like Ralph Fiennes, and they speak in these very sort of, grandiose, affluent, well-bred European ways, which is just sort of right in his wheelhouse in terms of dialogue. And they all carried up, but there was. But in almost like a fantastical setting. A fantastical setting, but then having these characters did have depth to them. In this world that could easily, a director could have made this and it could have come across as too two-dimensional or too character-y or not real enough, because it is a fantastical world. But he kept enough of it in terms of the direction and the casting and the choices that the actors made to keep it rooted enough that you kept going along for the ride. There's a couple moments it gets a little slow, but for the most part, I think you'd like it. And if you're new to Wes Anderson, I would recommend going back and seeing Bottle Rocket. Rushmore is one of my favorite films, and even the Royal Tenenbaums, and watch this sort of. To me, it felt like,
Moonrise Kingdom, I'm a big fan of too.
See, I think if you like Moonrise Kingdom, then you're definitely going to like this, because it's really kind of Moonrise Kingdom was very interesting in that he sort of went back to his basics, but from a more mature filmmaker standpoint. You know what I mean? Like quirky, cartoonish, but not unbelievable. You know, and I think this has those sort of elements. So I think, Moonrise Kingdom is an amazing film.
I just want to go back to Fantastic Mr. Fox, because I didn't know he made that. And one of the horrors of having children is they lie. And the other thing, the legal bills alone, but the having to sit through those crappy movies.
Yes,
the Muppets are a gift.
Yeah,
you go, I can go take them to a Muppets movie and I can have fun too. Same thing with Fantastic Mr. Fox. I would have gone to see that without my kids.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when a Pixar movie comes out. You see, I'm bringing my kids, but there's a lot of people here without kids that are watching these movies.
I am a Dogma 95 kind of guy. My criticism of Wes Anderson is he's very soundtrack heavy, and the music sometimes carries the emotion as opposed to the acting.
Right. And
I sometimes wonder if that's a cheat.
Are you saying he pulls a Cameron Crowe?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting.
Is it a music video or a film?
Right.
Because it's very easy to be manipulated by music in a movie, and I kind of push back on that.
Really?
Yes.
Why does that bother you? Because
I think original music is better than taking somebody else's song that we already know. It's a sense memory, using somebody else's sense memory to move your audience. So I kind of object to, but then again, I never would have known who Nico was had it not been for Wes Anderson.
Right, but the other thing, that's
a good point.
That is a very good point, because I would think all
right, you just made it into the documentary.
Yeah.
So you're saying just read what's on the page. That's the thing. That's the mistake I always make in documentaries, is going off the script. Just get the words off the page. That's the key to a documentary.
Well, the thing I wanted to talk about specifically with Rushmore, which is, again, a movie I really like, one of the things I liked about it is the soundtrack. Now, it does use a lot of, what are popular, but Mark Mothersbaugh was the
from Devo.
Yeah. Was a musical director, and I think what he did, what Mark Mothersbaugh did, and he's done this several times, these guys are fixing the lighting thing behind you, is...
Did they tape a yoga mat to my garage?
Yeah.
Now, which guys are the documentarians and which guys are from the NSA? I always can't figure that. Do they ever laugh?
No.
Okay.
They shouldn't.
That's why I feel right at home here. I don't hear any laughter. It's a room filled with people and just stone. Speaking of Rushmore, these guys. That's Mount Rushmore.
The music that he chose, that Mark Mothersbaugh chose for Rushmore, was he went with he'd pick a Who song or something, but it was a track you probably weren't that familiar with. And so to me, I kind of had a similar thing of like, oh, well, I learned about, all this stuff, or there was some Jim Croce song on there that I was like, I vaguely remember that and the way he used it. Now,
Operator, I never heard that song. I didn't know he...
I didn't know. Would you help me place this call?
Yeah.
Okay, so David, let's go into, you just got done writing for the Canadian Oscars. You've written for the American Oscars.
Now, I have a question, though. I would really want to know about the Canadian Oscars. The first question I have is it a real thing?
It's called the CSAs, the Canadian Screen Awards, and they've combined television with movies. So it's one big award. It would be like if
the Emmys and
the Oscars got together.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
What time do they do it? Roughly the same?
They do it a week after the...
So it's like the Golden Globes.
Well, after.
Yeah, okay. Because they combine TV and movies.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But they do celebrate work on both, borders, America and the Arctic Circle. There's a lot of great work being done in the Arctic Circle.
Those
March
Inuit TV shows are hilarious. So what constitutes a Canadian? It had to be shot there, or it had Canadian actors, or how do they?
Mostly financing. If it's produced in Canada and has mostly Canadian content,
and it has to have socialized health care.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Canadians are better than the Americans. And as soon as we wake up and realize that, we'd be a much happier country.
Right.
Canadians are better than Americans.
Right.
They really are. They're healthier. They're better educated.
That makes me want to get my gun and shoot you in the face, because that's my God-given right to shoot someone because I'm crazy.
Please shoot me in Canada so I can have the bullet wound tweeted. That's what they do. They don't treat bullet wounds. They tweet them.
They just hashtag suture.
Hashtag,
Trending right now.
Yeah.
Bullet removal.
Trending psychopath.
So how many American Oscars have you written for?
I wrote, the one that I'm most proud of is the one I wrote for Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin.
Oh, that was a great one.
That was great. That was great. That was great.
Well, talk about what was the difference having done several American ones and doing a Canadian one. What did you know? Is there much of a difference, or is it pretty much like similar like movie monologue jokes and then?
How do you be mean without anybody knowing you're mean? That's the key to a good joke.
Right.
How do you write jokes that are roasty, but nobody says, this sounds a little roasty to me? Because I work on the roasts, and those are brutal. And I've been doing the roast for a long time, and I write for Triumph, the Insult Dog comic. Those are pure jokes. They're id. It's from the dark recesses of your brain. Then everything flows from that. All other work in terms of writing flows from the meanest, cruelest thing you can possibly say. So how do you just add layers to the hate?
How do you dress it up?
How do you sweeten it up a little bit?
How do you, if you're writing for a television show that's on at 8:00, how do you keep the hate, but nobody sees it? How do you keep the violence in the joke, but nobody realizes how violent it truly is?
Give us an example.
I don't know. I can't give you an example, but I'll tell you. I think the Muppets. If you watch the Muppets, there's violence there that you just don't see. There's hate there that you don't see, but it's there.
So you're saying award shows are like the movie The Purge? Where once a year,
yeah, they're all the women are in the bathroom purging. But that's if there's great writing, great comedy, there's some real hateful stuff going on that you just can't see it.
Like, what's the structure like with writing for the? Where is it different? Writing for the Canadian Oscars and the American Oscars?
A joke is a joke. It's guys. It's you're writing.
You still have a writer's room. It's all that.
You're writing as many jokes as you possibly can and trying to get the love from the host that you didn't get from your father. That's basically.
But generally, they're also celebrity hosts too. So
they're celebrity hosts, so your brain tends to jam up and get intimidated, and you feel like you have Alzheimer's because you can't think straight because you're in awe of the guy or girl you're.
Then was there anything content-wise in terms of Canadian TV versus American TV in terms of like, oh, you can't make that joke?
I was surprised by how politically incorrect you could be in Canada as opposed to America. Because my prejudice against liberals, and I happen to be one, is that we don't find certain things funny.
Right.
We're always going, well, who's the victim here? Who's the victim here?
We always got white liberals are always getting offended on everybody else's behalf.
Right.
Right. And they can be some of the most difficult audiences to perform comedy in front of because they go, oh, and they're all intense and like, oh, I don't want to laugh at that so somebody thinks I'm a racist or whatever.
Right.
It's like, just shut the fuck up and laugh.
Right. And Canada is an overtly pluralistic society. I mean, it's almost like they have quotas. They're very much proud of the fact that we're going out of our way to include all ethnicities, and whereas in America, we're not. So they're more willing to laugh at politically incorrect jokes. I just realized this, that they're more willing in Canada to laugh at politically incorrect jokes because they don't feel guilty about that kind of stuff. Whereas in America, this is a racist country. And thank God. No, this is all right.
Here.
We're a racist country, so the easiest thing for us to do is be offended by a joke, as opposed to making sure that black and Hispanic kids get the education that white kids do. That requires heavy lifting. So I'll just be offended by a joke and then move on. I thank you. This was very helpful.
Working through some stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm working on the Mexican Academy Awards next week, and
well, let's talk
for free. I'm taking jobs away from hardworking Mexican comedy writers. I'm doing it just to. By the way, do you know that there is no? This is off the subject, but Mexicans have stopped coming to America. This whole thing about illegal immigrants, it's just the number of illegal immigrants coming into America has just dropped precipitously.
Right. And there's more.
Is that because of the Canadian Academy Awards?
Well, no. You honestly know. This is why that. Well, this is a whole.
That's another show.
It's another show, but there's more illegal Canadians in this country.
Yes.
Than people from Central and South America. That's why that whole. It's such a. There's so much. As you said, there's so much racism.
And they're all on
it.
television.
Yeah. And playing hockey.
Yeah.
So this, the
Canadians are like the Jews.
Martin Short.
To me, Canadians are like Jews. They're among us, but you're not sure who they are.
They don't have horns on their head like the way Jews. I'm quoting. All right, well, I want to ask you this though. Because it's been several years. You were on our show when we first did it, the first year.
Yeah.
This is 4 years ago. And you had just done the Oscars with Alec Baldwin and Steve Martin. So talk about what that experience was like in terms of...
Well, why don't you just replay that episode, motherfucker?
It was 190 episodes. And I think, honestly, it was before we had a soundboard. That was one of our last... When we just had the microphone...
So it might have been in mono and one earbud or whatever.
The sound quality blows on that episode.
So,
all right.
And it's mainly because your voice is dumb. But these are technical.
My voice is dumb.
Those are technical things. I don't kill the messenger.
You're saying that I have a dumb voice. Okay.
That's what the schematic said.
So you're saying his voice doesn't understand stereo.
Right.
Okay.
No, but go into that. Go into what that was like working on that Oscars with those two guys.
It's work. It's great. Every writing job that you do is very tense because it's competitive, and you can't be competitive, but it's competitive.
And competitive in terms of all the writers are sort of fighting to get their jokes on the air, kind of a thing, or
in a way,
you have to. I mean, just because you get the job doesn't mean you stop pitching. You pitch all the time.
Yeah,
you're constantly pitching in a writer's room.
Yeah, and men tend to be competitive. And it's a bad thing to be. It's really, competition is bad. It doesn't make you better. It makes you worse. It really does. The older I get, the more I realize that if you stop competing, you win. You win more. But
right.
Americans...
But then how would we do the Olympics?
Well, yeah. I'm not so sure the people who get the the gold are competitive. I think they're just trying to be the best, and
I find that hard to believe. That elite athletes aren't competitive?
I don't know.
And that women aren't competitive?
Competitive. Don't get me started on women.
Jeez.
My wife is
That tangent
my
just
wife.
had a tangent.
No, my wife is incredibly like. Look how bigger my clitoris is than yours. Well, I just had the skin graft, honey. It's going to take a while for this thing to blossom.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
All right, so back to the writer's room. So
The happiest I am in a writer's room. There are two shows being written on any show I work on. There's the show that the audience sees, and then there's the show in the writer's room where the boss has to say, close the door. Nobody else can hear what we're talking about. And when you're in that, it's, when everybody, this closed network of guys and girls who are mentally ill making the most horrific jokes.
Right.
It's heaven. It really is. It's the closest there is to heaven because I'm dead inside. I don't know what that meant.
No, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. When comedians are alone and are making like the most offensive jokes, and it's not about the actual subject matter. It's about how far can you go with it.
Right.
And there's always speaking of being competitive, that's a race to the bottom a lot of times when you have.
But to me, for me personally, I'm not talking about writer's room where keeping your job and getting new jobs is at stake. I'm just talking about when comics are hanging out riffing. And I've never viewed that as being competitive in that environment.
No.
Because I'm just like, I just feel like it's just like a jam session.
Right.
Like I want to hear what you say because I know I'm going to fall out of my chair when you say it. I want to laugh that hard.
Right.
And I want to say something to make you laugh that hard, but I'm not sitting there. Me personally, I can't speak for other comedians, but I'm not sitting there going, oh, I got it.
I view it as a constant competition.
Well, see, that's why you need to listen to Feldman and let go of the
I am.
competition.
This is what I know as a fact. Comedians are much more fun to be around than comedy writers. Comedy writers are much more bitter than comedians are. You can run into a comic who's playing cruise ships and on the condo circuit and is a complete failure in his own mind, that he never got what he wanted in show business. And he's still happy. He's still getting up and doing it, and he's not bitter. I rarely see comics who are as bitter as multi-millionaire comedy writers who are
can
just
understand that,
because everything they think is being filtered through other writers, actors, studio chiefs.
Well, let's
except for their bank account, and that stays the same.
Well, let's get into that.
But that's also a really personal thing too. All comedians have that bit of insecurity on them too.
Sure.
So you kind of see it a lot of times as sometimes a competition that isn't really there. That's actually something.
Yeah, a lot of comics think everyone's out to get them. It's like nobody knows who you are. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Right.
it's that's the other side of it too. There's the kind of that fear and the paranoia and persecution complex too. Mm-hmm. So there's always that kind of weird tweaks that we all kind of have in our personalities that generally need a little work.
But I do want to get into that.
Excuse me for one second. There's justice in comedy. There's no justice as a comedy writer. You can stand-up is pure. It's garbage in, garbage out. The more work you put into your act, the bigger the laughs you get. You can be a comedy writer, a screenwriter, and you can kill yourself and work 26 hours a day, and there's no guarantee that there'll be any justice. It's almost It's almost impossible to find justice as a television writer.
Well, I want to get into this because, as we're making this documentary, and we were just talking, before the show about, running a podcast, and you were saying being an entrepreneur is really hard, and it is. It's a lot of work. Like doing this Kickstarter campaign was crazy work.
Yeah.
It was we almost all had heart attacks. But then it is so empowering because
then you needed a Jumpstarter campaign to get your heart going. There's
to talk about what you're saying is when you go through the system hasn't changed for many, many years, and it's still the same, and everything you just said is very true. The good news now is that there is another way. It's another way. It's a much more difficult row to hoe as we've found everything from podcasting to kickstarting. But at the end of the day, no matter how difficult it is, there's no one telling us what we have to do or what we can't do.
That's the thing I say all the time.
There's no one controlling our content.
Because would I like to get union writer money? Of course. Would I like to have my health benefits and have an actual pension like you get writing for union TV shows? Sure.
Would we like another $300,000 to shoot the documentary? Of course we would.
But then I think I watch, certain TV shows or whatever with people who I know are funny, and I'm watching this final product and I'm like, man, and I can just smell the network notes.
How many filters it goes through.
And I'm like, and that's what I say to people, because I haven't had an agent or manager in several years. Would I like to be auditioning for sitcoms? Of course. Could I use that money? Of course. But at the end of the day, Chris and I have nobody's coming in here and saying you can't say that. You got to cut out that joke that Feldman made about meat curtains or whatever. Like,
by the way, could you cut that out?
Yeah. Somebody's going to say that before the end of the show.
Right, but it'll be one of us. Yeah. It won't be someone else. It'll be me going, his dumb voice is ruining our podcast and the documentary. These cameras are bleeding from his stupidity. Like, that's a whole different thing.
I've never seen stigmata on a camera lens before.
From some dumbness coming out of someone's mouth.
Their stupid mouth is ruining everything. But I mean, even that, like,
it's a miracle.
It's we've had, big name people on this show or whatever, and I don't have their people going, ooh, you can't. Right. It's like, no. We don't even deal with them. We don't even deal with agents when we book the podcast festival. Like, we just have said no to that, and even when I'm on the road and, like you say, and I'm doing some show on a cruise ship or in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, oh God, I got to do a late show Friday, and
there's an audience,
right? There's an audience, right. And I am still
instant feedback.
It's instant feedback, and I'm still doing what I want to do, even if it's like, oh, I got to do more dick jokes for the late show Friday. They're still mine,
right?
They're my dick jokes, and I wrote them, and I don't feel like.
I'm playing a bar tonight downtown. If there are two people who are there, I'll be lucky. I mean, but I'm like excited about it. I'm like, oh wow, I have a show tonight. You're looking at me like, who books that?
Yeah, who books that gig? No, but I remember you and I worked in Tahoe about a year or so ago, and you had said to me, you were like, man, I've spent so much time learning how to be funny in a writer's room, which is a different skill set.
Right. It's different than being on a stage.
It's being on a stage. Right. And because you were like, man, I haven't been on stage in a while.
Right.
And so, but again, it's a skill set which I understand in terms of, like, there's more steady money in it.
What?
It's in the writers. I
think there's more steady money. Honestly, I think there's more steady money as a stand-up.
Yeah,
you can always work as a stand-up.
Every few weeks, your contract is up for renewal or cancellation in a writer's room. No one's getting that year-long contract if the show goes or whatever. It's when I was I worked on a soap opera. It was literally 13 weeks.
You worked on a soap opera?
I did. I worked on a soap opera. I worked on Port Charles, and it was literally the contracts were 13 weeks at a time.
Wow, you wrote on a soap opera? Wow.
Yeah, it was great. And you worked at home. There was no writer's room. I was just a dialogue writer. I was on the road with the Improv with my laptop, writing for the soap and doing shows at night.
That's
great.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing.
And then I got fired. I got fired for the same reason I got hired. The head writer hired me and said, look, your writing has a very distinct voice. So even if I don't see your name on the script, when I read it, I want to know you wrote it. So, things are going great. Then the head writer leaves and didn't get along with the executive producer. Executive producer brings me into the office and goes, hey, your writing has a very distinct voice. We don't want to hear it.
He really said that?
Yeah. We want all the writing to sound the same, which is great for a TV show. You want all the writing to sound exactly the same.
Right.
And then the show got canceled shortly after they fired her and a bunch of other. They cleaned house. Whoever that head writer that the executive producer didn't like, they got rid of.
That's another thing we don't have to deal. We don't have to deal with.
In executive politics.
The executive politics, like, your show's about to be greenlit. Oh, that executive's gone. Like, what, like, we're a part of All Things Comedy Network. So if Al Madrigal and Bill Burr, who I think are running a great network, decide they cancel that or sell it, we're going to still do our fucking show.
Yeah.
We didn't have a network before them.
Yeah, our podcast doesn't go in turnaround.
No, man. Like, none of that. So it's
Now, why don't Bill Burr and Madrigal get along? What's the story there?
what? Are you trying to cause controversy?
Yeah.
No, I just heard Bill Burr.
All things controversy.
I heard he hates Madrigal.
No, he hates you.
Oh. He said Madrigal's stealing from him.
You're the worst.
That's what I heard.
We'll ask him about that when we interview them.
Yeah.
That's the rumor that.
Oh, you're
At the Canadian Oscars, that's all anyone was talking about.
They were saying, I heard All Things Comedy is about to go under. That's what they kept saying. So, all right, we got to move on to DVDs.
Let's go to DVDs. The Wolf of Wall Street is coming out on DVD, and I will say that was a great improv satire drama comedy based on a true life story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's far too long. If you didn't see this in the theaters, this is a fine DVD to watch.
Yeah, it is.
It was a good Scorsese movie, a fantastic David O. Russell movie. If David O. Russell had made it, you go, wow, that is amazing.
Because good
for him.
It was the kind of movie where the only problem I had with it really is it didn't know what it wanted to be. Is it satire? Is it comedy? Is it I know.
And it's 30 minutes too long.
And it's 30 minutes too long. And
here's the thing about Scorsese. It's pronounced Scorsese. Here's the other thing about Scorsese. His movies, you can walk out of one of his movies and go, just missed. And then 5 years later, it'll be on television, and you go, well, I like that scene. Well, that scene was pretty good, too. And then 3 hours later, you're going, it doesn't all add up, but it's a pretty amazing. I remember walking out of Goodfellas and Casino, which I have now seen each of those movies probably 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. I remember walking out of those two movies and thinking, just missed. Could have been a great movie. And then you watch it at home and go, that is...
He's one of those guys who...
It grows on you.
It's kind of the way I personally feel about like Clint Eastwood or whatever. Like, his near misses are still amazing. And many of his films hold up over time. Like, I loved Goodfellas when it came out. Thought it was amazing. And Casino, I was like, it's like Goodfellas light. It's Goodfellas in the West. And then I've seen that. I've seen Casino a bunch of times on TV, and I'm like,
yeah.
These scenes are amazing.
Yeah. Alec Baldwin said something about movies, that they're a series of moments.
Yes.
That's all they are.
Right.
And that when you break them down into the components of these individual scenes, are there greater moments than there are bad moments?
Yeah. Well, that's what our lives are.
Yeah.
What are our lives?
And this is
series
a great
of moments.
moment.
No, this is a horrible moment.
Okay, I'll put my pants back on.
This is the kind of the moment where you're like, why?
I wanted to show you the clitoris. How many guests have had a clitoris grafted to their neck where their Adam's apple used to be? Bruce Jenner and I have been getting our Adam's apple shaved because we're in transition, or as we call it in Hollywood, turnaround. And I figured if I'm going to have a divot where my Adam's apple used to be, why not put a clitoris there?
Great idea.
Linda Lovelace had one on the inside. I want one on the outside, so... And I have the only clitoris with 2 testicles.
Sounds perfectly reasonable.
This is when I wish we did have a network executive to
yeah, it's like, you need to cut that part out.
You got to cut that part out.
And then what we'll do is we'll pretend to argue, and then we'll go back and go, oh, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
We'll go, David, we fought for it. But the balls on your clitoris on your neck,
yeah.
we had to
goddamn
suits.
They made us take that out.
By the way,
we thought it was great.
Don't make me sneeze because I'm a squirter.
Oh, that I'm
Take
cutting.
that out.
That
Take
I'm cutting
that out.
out. That I'm cutting out.
Are you really going to cut that out?
I'm going to cut out anything ever having to do with you.
Okay, good.
for the rest of time.
We're
not cutting that out.
You know the Bitter Buddha?
Yes.
Eddie Pepitone.
Yeah, of course.
I discovered Eddie Pepitone. Eddie Pepitone lived underneath a bridge. And I found Eddie.
And he wouldn't let passersby go without paying a toll?
Yes. And I discovered him. And I put him on my podcast and turned him into a star. And let me be even more frank, if I may. He was the greatest piece of ass I've ever had, and I've had him all over the world.
The Godfather.
And so they did a documentary about Eddie Pepitone called The Bitter Buddha.
Yeah.
And they shot in my studio at the radio station, and I ended up
Would you like a signed copy? We have signed copies.
I have a couple. And I was filmed, I would say they shot me 5 days with Eddie. But schmuck that I am, I kept looking at the camera as a joke. Every time I talked to Eddie, I would stare right at the camera. And I didn't end up on the
Were you on outtakes?
Good for
Not
you.
even outtakes.
You weren't even the.
So I'm not
going to
look.
the extras.
I'm not going to look at the cameras here.
You know what Eddie Pepitone just called? He wants us to take that part out.
Oh, really? We got to cut that part out.
Funniest man. I love Eddie Pepitone.
He's hilarious.
That's great. So, all right, we'll talk about Walking with Dinosaurs 3D. I did actually see this. This was a terrible movie. It's what happens when basically special effects people get to make their own movie without any directors or writers. And that's kind of what happened. You have dinosaurs that talk, but their mouths don't move, and a story that makes no sense has Carl Urban in the beginning, and then we go to Dinosaur Times and a really annoying bird played by John Leguizamo. Skip it. See their specials. Their BBC specials are amazing. This movie is awful, so skip
Is it IMAX? Can you see it in IMAX?
it was. We saw it in 3D. I don't know if it was IMAX or not.
All right.
Delivery Man. This is the Vince Vaughn movie.
This is a Vince Vaughn movie. It's based on a European film called Starbuck. It's the same writer on both. So I don't know. I haven't seen Delivery Man. You know, I don't know. I like Vince Vaughn.
He might have just gotten a writing credit because he
because he did the original one. So I don't know. It feels like Starbuck.
And there's actually a Jackie Chan movie that he directed coming out called Chinese Zodiac.
Oh.
So did we see clips of this with?
I think we did.
With Rick Myers.
Yeah, this will be probably one of those movies that again will have a limited release. So if
Right.
you find it, check it out. I'm going to watch it.
Okay, well, no, you're not, because what's coming out this weekend, you are not going to miss this. I cannot wait for this movie. I'm hoping that it is near me in a movie theater, because I'm not sure it's going to be very limited release. The Raid 2.
Oh, I've heard Rick Myers actually. I haven't read his review, but he emailed me to let me know that he watched a screening of it in New York. And I think I posted, this is the only time I'd ever want to live in
with the
Manhattan.
filmmakers were there, too.
I'm so fired up to see this. I've heard
it's amazing.
I've heard it's
yeah.
amazing.
I really want to see it.
I can't wait to see the Raid 2.
And it opens up, too. It's not just like one kind of
Right.
building that goes floor
Right.
to floor like the first one was. There's more locations, more everything. There's more story. And I heard a rumor, I don't know if this is true or not, but that the filmmaker, this is the first movie he really wanted to make, but he didn't have the budget for it. So he kind of made The Raid as like a prequel to this movie because he could do it cheaper and in one location. So I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, it's a great story. So, and the other movie coming out is Cesar Chavez. Now, this is not a documentary. This is it's a narrative film.
Michael Pena.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez is. I know. I can't pronounce names at all.
Gerard Depardieu.
Gerard Deppy. It's an amazing story, so I hope they handle it correctly.
Well,
The Raid
somebody
2.
might have skimmed through a screener. It doesn't do justice to who Cesar Chavez was.
Really?
Who was a great man. Unfortunately, most people know of Cesar Chavez Boulevard, but they don't know who Cesar Chavez is. Most people, they don't. The kids aren't taught who Cesar Chavez is because they don't teach about unions and the plight of farm workers in our schools, because that would embarrass the plutocrats who control our brains. But he tried to unionize the people who pick your grapes and your lettuce, and you should know who's touching your food. They don't want us to know that there are human beings who touch our food.
And he fought for so many rights. Like and I'm sure they're. Well, I'm curious to see it. Like you said, it doesn't touch enough, so I'll still want to see it.
Would you say the movie's kind of like a good introduction to Cesar
It's like a
Chavez?
TV version. The problem is that Cesar Chavez, for all his greatness, believed in an afterlife. So the United Farm Workers, they've not succeeded because they focus too much on martyrdom and not enough on success.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, how many union contracts are there for your food? Very little. But then again, you can blame Reagan and greed in this country. But
And clearly, you say religion, too. You think that sank it? The fact that he believed in religion?
Well, the criticism was that he focused too much on the martyrdom and not enough on organizing. But these are people who, I mean, the migrant workers are, they need help from the government. And Bobby Kennedy understood that, as did Ethel Kennedy. So unionizing farm workers is like there's a movement now to unionize nannies in the state of California. Well, good luck with that. I mean, the people who have the least need the most help.
Of course.
So,
of course. All right. Well, I'm curious to see
Caesar
that.
Shop.
but seriously, my clitoris on my Adam's apple.
Nice. And also Noah is coming out. This is Darren Aronofsky's film. I
With
don't
Russell Crowe.
With Russell Crowe. I watch the trailer and every time I go, I don't know. Could this be amazing or is this going
Now,
to be
could I just make a request to our fans right now? I'd like you to take the Noah poster and substitute the spear with a phone. And I want to see that poster.
And he
Russell
throws
Crowe.
the phone at somebody's head.
At the water.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, well, that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much to David Feldman for being on the program. David, where can people find you on the internet, listen to your podcast?
And possibly in the movie.
Yeah, possibly. Mm-hmm. You can hear the David Feldman Show on iTunes. And if you write to me and say you subscribed to my podcast, I will send you a Made in Los Estados Unidos bumper sticker.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
That's if you subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, just email me and I'll send you a bumper
Now,
sticker.
how do they contact you? Where do they email?
Hey, I don't want to have to give these fucking bumper stickers away. Come on, man. I got kids. DavidFeldmanShow.com. Mm-hmm. If you subscribe, we'll send you a bumper sticker.
And Chris and I have both been on this show.
It's a great show. It's really fun.
Well,
and you do all different stuff. You do everything from political to entertainment to music, right?
We do everything.
And, that's our show. Of course, this Sunday, March 30th at the Improv Comedy Club in Hollywood, 8162 Melrose, from 1 to 5 p.m. Come and be interviewed for the documentary.
We really want to hear your story. We really do.
We want to hear it. We want to hear it.
Come on down.
Even if it's just quick, like, this is why I love podcasting, or this is how I listen to it, or whatever. Just a 5-10 minute interview. So please come down. Mm-hmm. And you got
Can I just say something?
No.
Everybody has a podcast. Mm-hmm. But they don't last long. You guys have been doing this for more than 4 years. You guys get better every day. You really do. And the not just the fact that you lasted this long. Any idiot would have to get better doing it. 4 years. And you guys are just fantastic. I mean, and I told some friends I was doing the show, and they listened to it. And thank you for having me on the show. And everybody has a podcast. For 1 or 2 episodes.
Right. They don't understand how much work it is. I think anyone who's like, I want to do a podcast and get a TV show like Mark Maron, it's like, okay.
Well, thank you, David, and this will definitely be in the movie. And thank you for sticking to the script.
Yes. And of course, guys, then Sunday night, March 30th at 7 p.m. at Flappers Comedy Club. I will be headlining. Chris will be on the show. Morgan Murphy, Andy Wood. Check that out. Those tour dates, of course, are all at comedyfilmers.com and grandmelwood.com.
Yes.
Can I also mention one other thing?
Sure.
My grandmother died under mysterious circumstances. Does that have any? That's not going to end up on the document.
Did she have a podcast?
You are by and large the most.
I am by and large. Thank you.
The best, the most amazing and dumbest guest we've ever.
I told my children, I'm serious, is if you want to be a happy human being, read all day and behave like a 2-year-old. Just spend 12 hours a day reading, and then the other 12 hours acting like a 2-year-old, and you'll be happy.
That's great advice.
That's great advice.
I just shit myself.
Yeah. Like a 2-year-old. Like a 2-year-old that's reading the newspaper.
Hey, does a 2-year-old have a clitoris that looks like this?
Yes, they do.
Oh.
All right, so that's our program.
It'll grow. I have like a baby clitoris.
This is going to be a 20-minute episode.
Have to cut this out. There's just going to be him introducing it, saying
how great we are, and then that's it.
And then his website.
Yeah,
and then that's the episode. All right, thank you so much, David Feldman. My name is Graham Elwood.
I'm Chris Mancini, and as always, remember,
Han shot first
in the clitoris.